Awesome. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Smaller crowd this week. That's fine. These things come and go.
Yes.
And welcome to the new sanctuary of the Metro East Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And greetings to those of you watching remotely and from the future, because we do record these things. This is a welcoming religious community, and we are so glad you are here. My name is Jamie Riedessel. I am also one of your treasurer, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm delighted to welcome you here today. And it's good to see you all here, old friends, new friends, people who've been here forever, people just trying us out to see what this looks like and checking us out online to see if it's worth showing up. Please come, we want you. We welcome everyone here in this home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope, for we are Unitarian Universalists. An important ritual in Unitarian Universalist practice is the lighting of our chalice. UUs have many different interpretations for the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. If you're watching elsewhere, please, and have a chalice or candle, please light it with us now as we read the unison words projected on our screen here.
Light this chalice today as a symbol of love and revelation, always ongoing,
always expanding. We light this chalice in hope of the future of our church, our community, our country, and our world. Love center us always. Join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation as I walk us through a somewhat different prayer. O Watchtower of the East, lend us your dawn of new thought and perspectives as we look at those seeds before us and determine patterns and meaning. O Watchtower of the South, lend us the energy to take these new thoughts and use them to understand ourselves better, to catalyze change and transformation. O Watchtower of the West, lend us the healing energy to integrate these changes and guide us toward new practice and empathy. O Watchtower of the North, lend us the stability to be at peace with these changes and begin the cycle anew by helping others grow. Amen and blessed be. I invite you to take a moment to greet someone you don't know as well this morning and to make a new connection. And with someone you can get to know over coffee hour, because we like coffee, we're Unitarians. And then we will begin our first hymn later. But first, let's talk.
A little cold.
Okay. All right, join us for our first hymn in the Teal Songbook, number 1060, As We Sing of Hope and Joy. As we sing of hope and joy today, some know the anguish and despair. How can we lift our voices in this way, while some pain and misery to spare? If a crumbling world we hope renew, I must sing no ordinary song. Peals from noisy gong will never do. In every breath compassion must belong. Let this song our greatest hope contain. Laughter of our wealth that trialed its tune. Move for every heartbeat its refrain, its harmony from peaceful cities hewn. Sing of joy while hammering each nail. Sing of hope while pulling every reed. So shall we sing together and prevail. May every alleluia bear a seed. Thank you. It is tradition here at the Metro East Unitarian Universalist congregation to place each service within the larger values that we as Unitarian Universalists hold dear. This week we lift up the values of transformation and pluralism. Today's talk is ultimately about change, learning ourselves and adapting to new understandings. This short reading is from Kate Bornstein's 1995 book, Gender Outlaw, and opens the first section, as in literally. It's this text right here. The very first task that Psyche had to accomplish in her search to be reunited with her lover, Eros, was to sort by type a room full of seeds. According to the myth, these seeds covered the floor and rose nearly to the height of the ceiling. The hard part, I spent the first 30 years of my life sorting out the cultural seeds of gender and sexuality. The hard part was sorting it all out. The hard part was taking a good look at everyone else and the way they looked at the world, which was a lot different from the way I was looking at the world. With these seeds of change firmly in mind, let us embrace our joys and sorrows. As part of our weekly worship service, we take home time for the expression of joys, concerns, and sorrows. Home for us means a place where we can each share things that weigh down our souls or that lift us up with joy. We need some lifting of joy. Thank you very much. And where those we love surround us in good times and in turmoil. If you'd like to recognize a joy or sorrow or milestone, you can come forward and place a stone or several stones in the bowl over here. There are stones at the front. If you brought your own, that's fine too. I invite you to come forward now, down the aisle to my left, across the front, choose a stone or whatever one you have, put it in the bowl, and recess down this side over here. If you're not able to navigate this for any reason, just raise a hand and someone will carry your burden for you, for we are helpful people. Let us be in a spirit of prayer and meditation. We invite everyone to watch today's video for today's Time for All Ages. Today's theme is Embodying Resilience, about the life of Harriet Tubman by Lessa Klein Ransom. This is a woman who transformed herself many times over her life, beginning with freedom of the self and branching out into advocating for freedom for others. After the video, we'll sing our children out to RE.
Before She Was Harriet by Lessa Klein Ransom, illustrated by James E. Ransom. Here she sits, an old woman, tired and worn, her legs stiff, her back achy. But before wrinkles formed and her eyes failed, before she reached her twilight years, she could walk for miles and see clearly under a sky lit only with stars. Before she was an old woman, she was a suffragist, a voice for women who had none in marriages, in courts, in voting booths. Before her voice became soft and raspy, it was loud and angry, rising above injustice. Before she was a suffragist, she was General Tubman, rising out of the fog, armed with courage, strong in the face of rebels and planters and overseers as they watched fields burn and bridges fall, and 700 slaves stop chopping and start running to a woman who ferried them to freedom on the Combahee River, turned River Jordan. Before she was General Tubman, she was a Union spy, carrying secrets across battlefields to soldiers fighting in the Civil War for President Lincoln to end slavery. Before she was a Union spy, she was a nurse caring for those hit with bullets and hatred and fear, tending to them with bandages and words in the bloodiest dirt of Southern soil. Before she was a nurse, she was Aunt Harriet, daughter of Ben and Rit, who helped her parents flee their master and find their way through woods and streams to the safety of Canada and a new home in the North. Before she was Aunt Harriet, she was Moses, a conductor on an underground railroad with no train and no tracks, just passengers traveling to freedom up north through swamps, past slave catchers across rivers under the cover of night. seeking the promised land for her people, led by dreams and God and faith, a wisp woman with the courage of a lion. Before she was Moses, she was Minty of Maryland, of one slave owner, and then others who worked her, punished her with lashes, broke her back, but not her spirit. Before she was Minty, she was Araminta, a young girl taught by her father to read the woods and the stars at night, readying for the day she'd leave behind slavery, along with her name, and pick a new one, Harriet. And remember her days as a suffragist, as a general, as a spy, as a nurse, as Aunt Harriet, as Moses, as a conductor, as Minty, as Arminta, who dreamed of living long enough to one day be old, stiff, and achy, tired and warm and wrinkled, and free.
Journey as you journey, may you know, love and hope go with you, love and hope go with you, learn and grow. Our next hymn is number 128 in the Gray Songbook, For All That Is Our Life. Last October, Keith stood up here and walked through the transformation he lived through regarding masculinity and how he interacted with the world, coming up with a new version of masculinity that was a much better fit than the checklist of demands he had been living through before. Today, I talk about my journey, which clearly had a somewhat different endpoint than Keith did. Or I should say waypoint, because I'm not done yet, and neither is Keith. Before I get into the meat of this talk, I want to talk about male privilege, because you can't talk about masculinity without also talking about the privilege society places on men and boys. Something many people miss is that male privilege is a two-sided thing. There is the privilege you hold in your heart, how you expect the world to behave, and there is the privilege granted to you by your environment. When both are in alignment, you get that stereotypical smoothing of experience and benefit of the doubt. If the environment isn't granting you the privileges that you expect, your environment sees you as something of an asshole. If your environment is granting you privileges you don't know how to use, you come across to your environment as kind of wussy and indecisive. Inside expectation, outside assignment. Keep that in mind. In the beginning, I was a perfectly normal boy child in the neighborhood on the white side of the recently legal Red Line in Minneapolis. My parents were not perfectly normal because they were going to a UU church and believed in liberal values. Back in 1980, liberal wasn't quite a dirty word yet, and Carter was still president briefly. I loved that guy. Apparently, I used to carry his Newsweek picture around with me for a while just because he was just so neat. My parents supported gay rights, marched for the Equal Rights Amendment during the ratification fight in the Minnesota legislature, and were pretty feminist. But I turned 6 in 1980, but I was going through kindergarten for the second time. Now, I didn't flunk kindergarten, no matter how much later bullies may have said that, but there were 2 reasons for my being held back the way I was. The first was I was seriously short, as in a thing from my dad's side cropped up, and I was like maybe 5th percentile height. I was about as tall as a 4-year-old going into kindergarten. And the second was my August birthday was right before the cutoff. So not only was I the shortest kid in class, I was also the youngest. Great. That was bad for me, but the powers that be agreed that was a good idea to hold me back, to improve my social maturity, and that ended up being an incredibly good thing. Taking that step meant that this short kid was now the oldest kid in class, from first grade through my graduation at 12th grade. That step began my acculturation to one of the most well-known of male privileges, the benefit of the doubt. I was oldest. I knew stuff, so may as well listen to me. I started to internalize that when I spoke, other people would listen by default and give my words due consideration. This stuff starts early, people. School and the adults who weren't my parents taught me a whole lot about how gender worked in ways my parents attempted to shield me from. Until 2nd grade, age 8, I had a reputation for being a crybaby. Yeah, I cried easily. This was noticed and I got picked on because of it. Mom and Dad never said, boys don't cry, suck it up, but just about every other adult in my life did. And so I had to learn how to hide my feelings. I learned power dynamics. I had learned that the opinion of my teachers mattered quite a lot, yes, but the opinions of my peers mattered in ways that made daily living tolerable. So you had to maintain both relationships. As a short kid, I learned how not to stand out. Kids who stand out get picked on. It's just kind of how classes worked in my age, and I believe they're still like that now. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's one of those fundamental things. This meant keeping some opinions to myself, learning not to cry, and being game to ventures when proposed. Because if you weren't game for venture, you got picked on, and my goal was not to get picked on. I learned pretty early that there were different kinds of masculinity out there. I was very much an outsider from the main line, but one of the nerds. But there are others, jocks and bullies, and once I actually got to high school, straight up gangsters. Each was a clearly distinct way of doing boy, and I didn't fit most of them, but I did find my niche. I learned that herd immunity was absolutely a thing. You needed a group to hang with to make you less attractive, a less promising target for bullies and predators. I was short and didn't fight, so I couldn't hold my own if it happened. I needed the herd because it gave me the resilience I needed to continue surviving. Keith said in October, from emotional suppression to emotional literacy. See me develop emotional suppression in real time. It was great. A certain amount of emotional regulation actually is healthy, and we do need to know that, but there is a thing is too much. To get to high school graduation, I had to compartmentalize and isolate large parts of myself that would cause me grief if other people saw them in person. One thing that differs between my journey and Keith's is that my awareness that there were multiple ways to perform gender came very early. I was boy, yes, but I was also the nerd subtype of boy. When I got to junior high, I found that there were girl versions of nerds, which was pretty great because I got to have friends who were girls, not just my sister, who was also a nerd girl type, but I didn't get through my head. Wait, there may be more of her. I was a bit thick back then. So all of this got vastly more complicated in May of 1992, when I was in my junior year of high school. I was on the phone with a friend of mine who was confessing a massive crush on a mutual friend of ours named Ryan, and she said, "You can't know how gorgeous Ryan is." And I realized in that moment I actually could. understand how gorgeous Ryan was. And I had been missing this, and boom goes my head. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Obviously, this means I'm at least a little bit bisexual, but how much? What does it mean? And that question led to other questions, which led to me noticing a little frisson of something when I was looking at a pretty girl that decoded to, I'll never look that good. So obviously I'm not entirely male either, which just added more to the what does it mean cycle I was running through at that time. The thing was, like, I actually knew what trans was in 1992. The early version of the U Our Whole Lives program that I went through in 6th grade actually described the basics, very early basics. And to give you a little bit of context, when I was in sixth grade, for me, was age 10 or 12, somewhere in there. So that meant 1988. So this is AIDS crisis era, when there was a lot of debates in schools about sex ed. What do you actually teach the kids? And Reagan's just say no to sex thing was really coming out. And what had been some actually useful education in public schools started getting ripped out to get to what the curriculum of scare them out of having sex and maybe they won't have any, which isn't all that useful. And the progressive churches like the Unitarians decided that what if we run our own? That actually gives you more details. And it was controversial at the time, but I will say that class, much like last week when we had our session and this room was absolutely packed because we had the adult education afterward, I saw kids in there that I'd never seen at church before because people were actively seeking out that education. But that's what I had in my head. So I actually had I had a step forward in that I knew what trans was. I knew gender was a little fluid. So I wasn't working from zero knowledge, but I was working from minimal. I needed a lot more. This marked my most definitive turning point in my journey with masculinity. Clearly the entire category of male, complete with subtypes, wasn't a good fit for me, but what does? That question would take 22 years to really answer. Two things happened in the wake of that revelation that contributed to the emotional literacy that Keith talked about. Unusual for a teen of 92, I actually had internet access and found some resources and communities. It was a small community, but it was there, and I could talk to them, which is the absolutely critical thing. This gave me knowledge. I also dug deeper into feminist thought because clearly that applied to me now. It always did, but I had to get into this thought to be able to understand that feminist theory is all about everyone, not just women. I had a lot of things to unlearn, and this is all part of my process. The twists and turns of those 22 years could take an hour all by itself, but there are two anecdotes from that time I want to share. The first is from my first job after college. I found an IT job that was mostly women, and I didn't fully realize how much of a unicorn that was until I left, but I treasure that experience to this day. Like, I had an intellectual understanding that most other environments would be all guys with maybe a few women sprinkled in, but I didn't have that emotional hit until every job I had after that one. Well, I was the only one in the room, one of two. It was amazing, and I treasure it to this day. That was also the job where I began to see with my explicit thoughts how male privilege affected me and those around me. Remember how I talked about benefit of the doubt? I had a peer named Penny who had been working there for 22 years. Our mutual boss was Betsy, who had been working for 21 years. And Penny had been reporting to Betsy for 19 of those 22 years. These two had a well-established relationship, which you kind of hard to avoid after being together that long. And it wasn't all that great. Then this new guy shows up, who's eager to share opinions. And suddenly Betsy's listening to me. Ideas from Penny get the hairy eyeball the way they have been for the last 15 years. I decided to do the thing where I say, actually, Penny had a good idea there, to redirect credit, because I noticed a thing where Penny would say a thing, I'd echo the thing without credit, and suddenly it's a good idea. And Betsy would forget that Penny produced it first. So the way you do that is you redirect that. Yeah, Penny had a good idea there. And that sort of rehabilitation work over 6 months rehabilitated their relationship. After 6 months, they were talking directly to each other for the first time in 15 years. It was great. And I didn't have to get in there. So they had to relearn how to relate to each other in a way that they're actually open to debate. And that, using my male privilege to help others, this worked. It was another milestone in my evolution of masculinity. The second anecdote happened somewhere between 2012 and 2014. I'm not entirely sure when it happened anymore. I was lamenting in a group chat about my anxieties over how gender transition would affect my career prospects. Women in technology have been a hot topic at conferences at that point, and so all the ways that we face pushback in jobs and in advancement and in career opportunities presented to us was very much top of mind, and I had worries about opting into that badness. The two women I was good friends with, both in tech themselves, had to smack me on the virtual nose. My feeling about predicted future oppression was hurting them now, and would I please stop that? This correction gave me a checkpoint to go over a lot of my thinking about the discussion I thought I was having. One of my friends pointed out that I had enough years underneath me that I was considered senior, and a lot of women in tech talks were talking about junior and entry-level stuff, and the problems you face as a senior are very different. Because at that point, you're past some of the glass ceilings, and you have different glass ceilings, ones that they don't talk about nearly as often as they do in conferences. And each situation, much like our second wave feminists learned when they became the second woman in an office, are different for each person who enters it. That whole thing taught me that discussion of oppression can be oppression itself to those who experience it. This was another milestone. And in 2014, I did my marker changes, and I did my name and marker changes and started the long process of leaving most of my masculinity behind. You may notice that I'm not doing any voice work today. This is the voice puberty gave me, and I haven't done much to change it. This is a choice that was unthinkable in 1992, because when passing was literally everything. That benefit of the doubt thing is I still do that to this day. But the difference is I now have a better understanding of how that fits into the greater cultural context. Because I never let that go. So I expect that. But I also know that I need to have, when I put an idea out there, it needs to be better supported than just throwing a random idea and having people pick it up and solve the problems for me. I need to have some of the problems solved before it goes in to prove that I have a serious idea. Women learn this as soon as they enter the workforce, and I had already adapted to it. So I still do that. Internal expectation and alignment. That had it because I was now interacting with the culture the way people were expecting me to. I'm still learning how to adapt to this, and I will continue to do so. This new shape is more comfortable than the old one, and I'm staying here, but I have more work to do. Keith also said, from hiding parts of myself to welcoming my whole self home. I'm not yet at my whole self. Somewhere along the way, that crybaby kind of agender kid, I was at 6 or 7, crawled into a dark part of my brain and dug in. I need to get that kid integrated again, which might require some professional help. I'm sure my sense of masculinity will change once again once they're back into the mix. This has been my journey away from masculinity, which gave me a far more nuanced view of this institution. But what about the people walking the other direction? Three of them have stood right here where I am now, and I don't believe any of them are in the room right now, but a lot of them will watch this. So, hi, I see you. Of the trans guys I've known well enough to discuss transition journeys with, all of them, every single one of them has had this question cross their mind. If I do this, am I giving up my ideals? Sometimes that question took 20 minutes. Sometimes it 8 years of their lives. Every person gets this one differently. But maybe because this is who I hang out with, but every single one of them were feminists of various strengths. The first trans person I ever knowingly met was a trans guy who described himself as a, quote, radical lesbian separatist. For a while, before realizing something different was going on here, he had to go from a mindset where he wanted a world with lesbians and only lesbians in it, to one that had a more intersectional view of gender and sexuality and how society needs to work. All of these guys knew something was up. Dysphoria is like that. Sometimes it's a subtle wrongness in your body or how your body is, or wrongness in how you fit in society, or combinations. Sir's radical lesbian separatism had to reconcile with body image issues and had to change as a result. Others since Sir have all gone through a questioning period of trying to square lingering body issues with their feminism. A few started questioning with onset of menstruation, but most had to wait until adulthood before the discordance became impossible to ignore. Some of that feminist thinking actually caught me up as well. The corners I was inhabiting in the early 2000s were full of radical body acceptance. Happy at any size or ability level. You are you, and you are loved as you frickin' are. Woo! Great message. But what if I want to change that anyway? How does radical body acceptance square with the trans experience? I had to figure out how to square these things, and these trans guys had to go through it too. It caught me, it caught them. Sometimes I need to change my body to get the best internal acceptance that I can, and that is fine too. The feminist community is much better about it these days than it was 15, 20 years ago, which is great. This gets better every year. We like that. These trans guys had to learn how to square that masculinity with feminism, which can be hard, same as I did. Then came the hard work of learning all those subgenders I talked about at the beginning, how they work, where they fit into that framework, and some of them spent a lot of time moving from gender presentation to gender presentation and back to try to find out what fits, same as I did for femininity. Do you want to try for the jocks type? Okay, how about nerd type? What if I go for like the outdoorsy type? What if that doesn't just sort of move back and forth? It happens, this is an experimentation phase. All of us went through it in our teens because that's a societally approved period of doing this sort of experimentation, but doing it as an adult is a trip sometimes. Someone you haven't seen in a year has an entirely new wardrobe. What's going on here? Yeah, well, I did some thinking and this is what I found out. Oh, fun story. So yeah, they all had to learn how those subgenders work. All of us, no matter which direction we go, have to do this learning. But masculinity has a lot of freight to it. Keith spoke about that a lot. The roles I learned in grade school while I was surviving as a short, nerdy kid with no special athletic prowess was the learning these guys had to speedrun, but they got there. The trans guys I know are a lot like the man Keith talked about becoming, who embraced their masculinity with intentionality, who did what I did in my middle years and used their newfound male privilege to take the suck out of it for everyone else. Gender is a complicated subject, and our individual perceptions of it change over a lifetime. Our Story for All Ages showed a similar change of purpose of someone inhabiting role after role after role, building on their previous learning to come up with new ways to help others. Some of us realize this has profound implications for ourselves, but most merely add nuance and flavor to how we view the world. From the rigid rules we thought we understood in 5th grade to the adult intersectional understanding of full nuance. This is actually a psychologically important thing because a lot of people learn social rules for the first time in like 3rd through 5th and 6th grade. They get that concrete, these are the rules, and they spend the rest of their life coming up with all the exceptions, building new rules and redefining old ones. So you start from that concrete box of where your particular family or school is, and you expand from there. This happens to everyone. So as I close, consider how your own view of masculinity has changed across your lifetime. Some of you have quite a lot of life to remember, and remember the upheavals of the 1960s and forward. And others are grounded in the intense learning of adolescence and early adulthood right now. Ask yourself what the turning points or experiences prompted you to redefine your understanding of how it all works. All of you have changed how you understand and relate to masculinity, whether it is how you live with and through it, or how it affects your relationships to others. Consider, reflect, and sort the seeds as Psyche did, and learn. That's all I ask. Our final hymn is number 1028, The Fire of Commitment. In this one. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion needs to call us on our way, and we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds the stories of our living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of the commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meets to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meets to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. Thank you. As Innie passes around the basket, I offer a gentle reminder that this community of faith and practice is supported only by your giving of time and money. This stewardship is more than just financial donations, but is also about donating time and talent to help your church. If you can't write a check, please help our church thrive by offering your time to help make coffee, help set up, help break down, which we have to do today, by the way. Please donate all you can with your time, talent, and treasure. All are needed for this church to thrive and prosper. Also, if you give cash, please let us know who you are so we can credit you appropriately, which affects voting rights. You have more people back there. However, if this is your first time, you're not obligated to give, as this is our gift to you. If you're willing to donate your time or talent or treasure, please contact a board member. There's a few of us here. And get a hold and figure out how you can help. So please join us in our offertory prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. It is warm now. Fires like that. All right, announcements. Unfortunately, we do have to break down today. I'm sorry. This is a new thing. They added a thing to their menu. Yes, I know the newsletter said we didn't have to, but Mason's added a thing, which means we have to break down. Sorry. Next week, you get to do it all. Set up, break down, and go do the New Song Fellowship thing, which we'll get to on a future slide, not now. And next week we have Eden will be talking, and after that we have Marlene Bricker. Then Reverend D. Evans will be back, and on the 15th, Ben Louder. Next, choir practice is canceled. Our choir director has a cold, which does not lend itself well to singing. So I'm sorry, those of you looking forward to singing after church will have to wait. You can break down instead. So there you go. It's a small consolation, but there we are. Also on the 22nd from 12:30 to 1:30, we'll be going over to the New Song Fellowship. We'll be holding an open house. For those of you who are not aware, this is one place we are considering moving to. They asked if we'd be willing to share a space with them, and we're going to see if it works. This is your chance to get into that space and look around and see what it's like to be in that facility that is actually designed to be a church, unlike this one, and get a feel, see, is this a place we want to move into, see what the issues and problems are, get a feel for what rooms can be used, and so we can better shape our negotiations with them in the future. We have another opportunity, a property purchase, but that kind of depends on our next slide, which is our pledge drive. We need money. We need to get out of here by the end of this year, and that means we need a new home. We have two options right now. We have New Song, which we're already talking about. There's also property in Wood River we're considering. That is a pretty massive financial lift, and in order to get that property, we need to hit that $85,000 line. So if you want that one, you need to open your wallet. No way around that one. This ask is about 20% higher than we did last year because that's just what we need to keep the church going, simply put. We've got 1890 so far. Thank you, people who use the online form. We love you. And pledge online or from the plate, because we have these nice yellow forms in the plate right now. If you want us to get it over with, I'll take it home, get it to Buddy. We're all good here. So, and also for the newsletter, the next slide. If you want a name tag, we have these nice blue forms up front, which you can pick up and fill out and get one of these things so you can actually look like you belong. It's kind of nice. And if you want the newsletter, white card sitting right next to it, fill this out. We'll get you on for emailing. And if you want it enveloped, we can probably do that too. But these are the ways you can sign up to help keep up. I know Amy and I signed up for the newsletter back when y'all were in Unity Fest right before the move, which is how we found out you were here. So that thing got us in the door. So yeah, there you go. And I believe that is the end of our service. So I invite you to join me in reciting the prayer as I extinguish the chalice.
The
Light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are the keepers of this flame until we meet again here. And as for our closing words, as I invoke the watchtowers when he opens, we must thank and dismiss them. Thank you, Watchtower of the East, for your inspiration. We hold this gift in our hearts in your honor. Thank you, Watchtower of the South, for your gift of accomplishment. We will hold this gift in our hands to carry it on to the next day. Thank you, Watchtower of the West, for your gift of reflection. We will hold this gift in our breath to share with others. And thank you, Watchtower of the North, for your gift of the endurance of wisdom. We hold this gift on the very ground we walk on to support ourselves and others. Amen and blessed be. And now our postlude. Thank you. Time for coffee.